Good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folari. And, well, first of all, let's start off with politics. We do a lot of that, these days. But the Edo election, all eyes seem to be on Edo State. The 19th of September is the date that has been set for it. And then there seemed to be some sort of a rumor, can I call it anything else, that, they were thinking of postponing that, in fact, there was a whole newspaper report on it that INEC was, that in spite of the postponement, the purported postponement, that INEC was fully on ground. That report quoted INEC's Deputy Director for Voter Education and Publicity, Mr. Nick Dazang. But since then, we've been in touch with the National Commissioner and Chair Information and Voter Education Committee of INEC, Mr. Festus Ahon, and the election definitely is on course. There is no postponement, and in fact, we have him on now. So, but before we come to Mr. Okoye, can I just say that we also have our friend in the House, Libras Oshoma. Mr. Joma, as we know, is a legal practitioner and a political affairs analyst.
My pleasure, sir.
Thank you very much for coming on. Okay, now, so let's now go over to the National Commissioner of INEC and Chair of Information and Voter Education Committee, Mr. Festus Ahon. Good morning, Festus. Well, okay, we understand that, as happens from time to time, it's frozen up. We'll sort that out. But as I was saying, is it mischief? Because at least they actually quoted a deputy director in INEC saying that in spite of the postponement, there was no problem and that nothing would be amiss. But then we've now heard better to say that there is no such postponement. You heard all of this as well?
Yeah, I see a lot of mischief playing out here. If you remember, on the day of, should I use the word now, invasion of the State House of Assembly, I think the CUPP spokesperson did release a statement alleging that the reason for all of that was that APC was planning of postponing the election, and that because election are supposed to be held at least a month before handing over, and the handing over we know is in November, and that so if that happens and that they want to force the speaker that would now be acting governor to conduct election and all of that, and so I think it is furtherance of that rumor that this other rumor had come up now. And if you also remember, not too long ago, there were allegations from APC that the rec of the Resident Electoral Commissioner in INEC was cited in Benin, and that...
that is the one in Akwa Ibom.
Yes, in Akwa Ibom. Mike Igini was cited in Benin. And that they dare him to deny, and he would release
which he has since denied.
Which he has denied, and even had written
exactly
to them to retract.
Yes.
And that he was going to go to court. Yes. And I expected that by now would have seen pictures and videos and nothing.
And INEC has since spoken up, saying that they're fully behind their man.
And then also yesterday, or was it yesterday or the day before yesterday, the PDP accused an INEC national commissioner of being that he was allegedly, nominated by Oshomole while he was in office. So all of these
disinformation, rumor.
I want to pigeonhole this other one, in the realm of that same.
Indeed, and let's see if we can indeed do so, because we do have Mr. Festus Okoye on the line, INEC's National Commissioner and Chair of the Information and Voter Education Committee. Good morning, Mr. Okoye.
Yeah, good morning.
Okay.
How are you today?
Yeah, very, very well, thank you. Now, please help us sort this out, if you will, Festus. First of all, the report that was in a newspaper citing your Mr. Nick Dazang, was described as Deputy Director for Voter Education and Publicity, originating some sort of a report that, in spite of the postponement, purported postponement, INEC was fully on ground, but we're now hearing from you that there is no such thing.
Well, the Nick Dazang is the director in charge of voter education and publicity in the Independent National Electoral Commission, and he's not the deputy director. Now, the
Yeah, thank you.
commission, as I note, as of today, has not. Are you hearing me?
Yes, 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 we can hear you.
Are you hearing me?
We can hear you very well. Yes, Festus, we can hear you. You're good. Did he freeze again? Okay, okay. It froze again.
Yeah,
but
network problem.
yeah, bandwidth problems.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Continue, please.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Carry on, please. Festus, if you can hear us, carry on, please.
Can I proceed?
Yes, please. Carry on. Okay. Festus, we can hear you loud
Okay,
and
I can
clear.
hear you now.
Okay. So please carry on.
Okay. Now, I was just saying that Nick Dazan is the director in charge of voter education and publicity.
Okay.
And the issue of postponing or not postponing the election in Edo State has never come up before the commission. This is because the commission released the timetable and schedule of activities for the Edo Governorship Election on the 6th day of February 2020. And we have 14 items on that particular schedule. We have implemented 12 of those items, and there are only 2 items remaining, and that is the end of campaign and the election itself. I want to inform you that by next week, the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, will be in Edo State for the last stakeholders meeting and also for the signing of the peace accord between the candidates and the political parties in relation to this election. And this election is on course. We have gone very, very, very far with the preparations, and we're not turning back. Now, the challenge here is that I have pointed out that under Section 178, subsection 2 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, we are under a constitutional obligation to conduct the Edo Governorship Election on or before the 13th day of October 2020. The flip side of it is that under Section 179 of the Constitution, for a candidate to be declared as having been duly elected, the candidate must call majority of lawful votes cast in the election and also get the geographical spread in relation to a quarter of the votes in 2/3 of all the local governments of Edo State. Under Section 179, subsection 4 of the Constitution, if a candidate is unable to secure, if none of the candidates is unable to secure this majority of lawful votes and the spread, the commission is under a constitutional obligation to conduct what we call a second election within a period of 21 days from the date of that particular, from the date of the declaration of the result of the election. And these things must be completed, both the election itself and the second election, if there's the need, must be completed on or before the 13th day of October 2020. So we are operating within a very tight constitutional timeline, and the commission will not take the risk of falling off the window and throwing the country into a constitutional crisis. We will not do that.
Okay. So that report that was cited, I think it was on the Punch. You're saying that was plucked out of the air. It was never discussed within the commission. It's just a story.
It's just a story. The commission has never discussed the issue of postponing the Edo governorship elections. You will also understand that it's not only the Edo governorship election that we are conducting. We are also conducting the Ondo governorship election on the 10th day of October and the 14 remaining by-elections on the 31st day of October 2020. So we have a crowded timeline, and we cannot afford to toy with any of these timelines. Moreover, under Section 26 of the Electoral Act, the commission can only postpone an election. There are cogent and verifiable reasons why we should do that. And that urgent and verifiable reason must be connected with maybe breakdown of law and order,
okay,
or with an emergency. As of today, there is no emergency in Edo State, and we are proceeding with the election.
Okay, and as you've just told us more than once, there are just 2 items outstanding that need to be addressed, and it's entirely within the capacity of the timeline that you have. And so the rumor is exactly what it is, a rumor. That is quite reassuring. The election will continue. Now, you said that the exception, and you just gave the reason why INEC would even begin to consider an exception, which of course it is not doing now, and that was the security. If there was if in your estimation you felt that there was a threat to peace and all of that. Now, yeah, there were some signs or some sort of sounds that people have been addressing, traditional ruler, police authorities, about heating up the polity. Now, INEC is satisfied that whatever the situation is, the fact from INEC's point of view is that everything is indeed under control and there is nothing whatsoever threatening the already announced date of the election in terms of security.
As of today, we are convinced that we can proceed with the election, and we are proceeding with that particular, and we are proceeding with the election. We have made it very clear to the political parties and the candidates that using base and incendiary language and also creating a sense of violence in the election will only create constitutional problems. But the type of violence that will lead us into postponing the election must be such that any election conducted under such an atmosphere cannot, by any stretch of imagination, be called an election. And we have not seen that quantum of violence or that level of threat that will propel us to postpone an election. But even if we are going to postpone the election, we can only postpone the election and conduct the election on or before the 13th day of October 2020. So the postponement on the basis of threat to law and order will not extend and go beyond 13th day of October 2020. If it goes beyond 13th day of October 2020, every other thing relating to that is completely outside the control of the Independent National Electoral Commission. It's now within the control and purview of the presidency and the National Assembly.
I want to thank you very much, Festus, Mr. Festus Okoye, National Commissioner, ANCHA, Information and Voter Education, and correcting myself as Festus helped me out there. It wasn't the earlier quote of a deputy director. Indeed, he is the director for voter education and publicity, Mr. Nick Dazang. But this has nothing whatsoever to do with his department, as Festus Okoye has just told us there. And so we take the good news and the very, very latest news that you can disregard the story you might have read. It has nothing whatsoever to do with the truth. The election in Edo is going on as scheduled, and Mr. Okoye has just explained, if there's a need for a rerun and the time frames and the time schedules. So there we go. Well, Liberals, maybe it's to be expected, all sorts of mischief, misinformation, disinformation, deceit. Maybe it's to be expected. So that's why people need to be extra careful to verify whatever information comes their way, especially when they have a responsibility to disseminate it to the mass population.
Yes, because politicians are very desperate and they will throw spanners in the works.
If they can.
If they can, and they always want to. They will try to outdo each other. And like Professor Wole Soyinka once said, once rumor starts to fly, even intellectuals are turned to conveyor belts. When you fail to verify, such information. So I had expected the newspaper to extend a call to not just Nick Dazang. I know Nick Dazang personally, and is not somebody that is flippant. Mm-hmm. I had expected them, just the same way TVC had done, to extend the call also to Mr. Festus Okoye, who notoriously is known to speak on behalf for and on behalf of INEC on matters such as this.
When you say notoriously,
no, when I'm not using notoriously in a negative.
Okay.
In law, we say a notorious fact.
Okay, he's
when
widely
a fact
known.
is widely known.
That widely known to speak for INEC.
Yes,
okay.
It's a notorious fact.
Okay. The lawyer came out there.
So, just the way TVC had done, to extend a call to some other directors in INEC to ensure that, such news is confirmed, but to just go public with it, would be misleading and misinforming the public.
Which probably leads us on to, having gotten rid of all of that fog or haze, it goes to the fact that maybe many people think that there's a lot riding on the Edo election,
yes.
and so that's why you get all these
yes.
these kind of shenanigans.
Yes.
The main contestants have been spoken to. By the way, it's not just two people who are vying for government, the seat in government house. It's just that people have sort of narrowed it down to two main parties.
They are the two contenders. The rest are pretenders. Because I had expected with the complaint and cry, from the people about the antics of the two major political parties, I would have expected that this would have been an opportunity for an underdog to take advantage of the situation and then come out strong. But you see them, these other political parties, still looking for how to adopt either the candidate of the APC or the candidate of the PDP. And so it truly shows that they are not contenders, but pretenders. And there's a lot at stake here because you have an incumbent governor who is fighting the battle of his life to retain his seat. And then you also have, a candidate who over time had wanted to be governor, and then a former governor who also felt betrayed
Indeed.
by an incumbent. So
one moment, please. Let's take Henry. Henry has called in from Surulere. Good morning, Henry.
Hello?
Thank you very much for calling in, Henry. Good morning. Go ahead, please.
Hello?
Yes, good morning. Henry, can you hear us? Go ahead.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Henry. You're on air right now. Go ahead.
You're welcome. You're welcome, my uncle duty. Hello?
Henry, we can hear you. Go ahead and say your piece.
Is this ample opportunity? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hello?
Carry on.
I want to use this ample opportunity to concur. Hello? Hello?
We can hear.
To concur with the likes of Professor. Hello?
So sorry, Henry, that there's a gap in the communication. We can hear you, but apparently you couldn't hear us, and so you were trying to reassure yourself that we were connected. We were. So sorry that we couldn't take. But you wanted to use the opportunity to concur with
Professor Wole Soyinka's
I
statement.
think Professor Wole Soyinka's, but we can't really put words in your mouth. You didn't get to put
because he said prof.
Yes. So so sorry about that, Henry. But Henry, we could hear you. In case it happens like that, I don't know. If it should, I'll just give the thumbs up, and please try and make that mean that we can hear. Carry on. So,
yes, so I was saying that there's a lot at stake. There's a lot at stake, and so also for the Reverend.
One moment, I'm sorry, we've been interrupted, but you know how the
program is. Yes, it's for the people.
Mazi Okoroafo, good morning.
Good morning, Sayori. Good morning, Mr. Liberos.
Good morning, Mazi.
Good morning, sir. Honestly speaking, the Edo election, if the 14 political parties in Edo State will stick to the accord they had with the Oba of Benin, Mr. Yori, I bet you there will be no crisis before, during, and after election. There will be transparent election in this state. But my major concern about the Edo election today is this. Look, we have reached an advanced stage in terms of politics. But today, the politicians are turning the whole thing to look as if it's a primary child play and the rest. Because when people go there, instead of them to tell the people what they are going to give and how they are going to do it, how, when, and what, they will just go there criticizing. At the end of the day, they will come out without anything intelligent to show the people. And the people, at the end of the day, they will go back now and look for the youth that are unemployed and start hiring them and start creating. But the thing is this, Edo election is very, very sensitive. Sensitive in the sense that all Nigerians, so the whole world, their focus, their satellite are in Edo State. If Edo State fails, that means on those State will still have the problem. But the thing is, I'm just begging the youth begging them that they should try as much as possible. Do not allow anybody to use you as a weapon of mass destruction for your state. Because at the end of the day, you have to suffer another 4 years. Another 4 years, you are increasing the number of unemployed and hunger, name them, in your state. Because there is no other state that will accept you as when you go there, you see that indigenous and non-indigenous syndrome. He's singing a song every day in any state. They say, where are you coming from? That's why so people, all this issue of state authority and the local government, they should strike it up from there. Thank you very much. Have a blessed. Honestly, God will help us in the Edo state. Thank you very much.
Indeed. Thank you very much, Mazi. In fact, I hear that Mr. Festus Okoye so kindly is still with us, just in case there is any clarification needed. So thank you very much for that, Festus. And well, you can hear some of our viewers emphasizing the need for, responsible behavior. But as you've assured us that INEC has no reason whatsoever to think about diverting any aspect of its already laid out plans, it must mean that you're satisfied that some of these concerns are very, very well in hand. I understand that, the Oba of Benin, no less, has in recent times, sort of waded in on this whole line of keeping the whole place secure. The police, they're entirely on top of it. Could you speak to us a bit about the security aspect? Should anybody be thinking in an untoward manner?
Well, on the basis of the security concerns that you have just highlighted, the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, together with national commissioners and directors, went to Benin, and we did assessment of all our facilities, and we also visited the Oba of Benin and solicited for his cooperation and understanding in also calling the political parties to order and pleading with them to toe the line of caution in relation to the statements they are making and also in relation to what they are telling their supporters. And he has done that, and the political parties have also pledged violence-free elections. And we also not leaving anything to chance. We have had a meeting of the Interagency Consultative Committee on Election Security, both at the national level and also at the state level. And the security agencies have assured us that they have the capacity and the professional integrity to neutralize every threat to peace and security during this particular period. And we are taking them for their words. So we believe that the political parties mean well and that all of them will cooperate and make sure that we have a good election in Edo State.
Indeed, thank you. So Festus, you also keep your ear to the ground. Well, I don't know.
Yeah, if you remember the election in Ekiti, build up to the elections, there were accusations and counter accusations like these. I mean, the last election in Ekiti, and threats, and everybody thought that there was going to be bloodbaths, but the election came. Oshun. Before the I think the second election, and the election came peacefully, and so I also think that because election these days, rather than address issues,
yes,
would want to dwell on shenanigans and non-issues,
which is a distraction,
which is a very big distraction, and then there are no platforms. No known platforms to actually engage, apart from the debate, which some of them, can either refuse to attend or, the major campaigns are just what I would call jamborees. And so because such platforms are not under the control of anybody, it's usually degenerate to the level of, thuggery. But I think, just like the Oshun election, that on the day of election proper, that everything will go fine.
Okay. Reverend Dominic, good morning.
Good morning, Uncle Yore.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah, good morning, Reverend.
Uncle Yore, you have taken my time, seen my name twice on the screen. Can you give me 60 seconds?
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, please.
Uncle Yore, Edo election paints a picture of what I call political, if I can use that word, hopelessness in a nation.
How do you mean?
Because when these two gladiators came on board I thought it was a good opportunity for the third force. Last election, we have almost 70 presidential candidates who are giving us a sweet story, and their line of argument was fine. There are some people who are, are not more interested in voting either this A or this B. I thought one of them will go to Edo and with his own party and make a statement, because that person will have a great point. This man sometimes, Oshimole says he's a liar. Now this is the best man. Now Oshimole said the best man is a liar, and the liar become a best man. I thought it was a good place for this young presidential candidate to present.
Oh dear. Did we lose you? I think we did.
His phone timed his 50 seconds.
He did. Well, but thank you very much, Reverend Dominic, for calling in. Apparently, you are not too impressed with the arrangements.
Certainly.
Going on in there. Well, it's just as well that you got that in, because we do take all shades of opinion. And as it is, we've actually run out of time on this particular subject matter. But we appreciate your calling in, Dominic, nevertheless.
I wanted to...
yes, we'll end in studio, but I also wanted to thank Mr. Festus Okoye, who has been with us from the beginning of the program. Thank you very much, Mr. Festus Okoye, for coming on and clearing the air for us. Thank you very much. All right, then. So,
yeah, I wanted to add to what Reverend Dominic was saying, that truly, indeed, in the last presidential election, I did say that the contestants were seeing Nigeria as a big local government. But I had expected them to use some of this, state election to actually test and show their popularity, because it's a smaller constituency. But they all failed.
Thank you. As always, Libras Oshama, lawyer and political affairs. And indeed, an anchor of his own program himself. Our pleasure to have you on. Okay, so that's, the first half of the program. We'll take a break. Don't go anywhere, please. We'll be right back, and we'll continue. We'll look at the, doctors. We'll look at the resident doctors in the country. What's going on with them?
The information we gathered this morning, want to meet with them, because they were supposed to have started yesterday, which they have even started in some states. So the federal government wants to meet with them to look at how those issues, those naughty issues,
what
like
progress
the issue
has been made,
concerning the issue about pay rise.
Yeah.
Before they were even talking about getting PPEs, which this didn't even come in the picture. But they are talking now about pay rise.
Okay,
and
let's take the report. Well, we have a package on it,
Yes, by
okay.
TJSU.
Okay, so.
The National Association of Resident Doctors have made real their threat to proceed on a nationwide strike. Here at the National Hospital in Abuja, the reality of an industrial action is very grim. Patients may have to wait endlessly to get medical attention in government-owned hospitals, and for others, the alternative will be private hospitals, but at a very high cost.
We were here last week, so today we came here and we are told that the doctors are on strike, that we should go and pay for consultation fee.
After we came, we started having a little hitch, because when we came, they said the doctors were on strike. And we tried to hold our patients, and we paid for consultation fee due to the person that is sick knows where it pains him, or who has the pipe and knows where it pains him or her.
President of the Association of Resident Doctors Abuja chapter tells TVC News that the association is constantly engaging with the federal government to demand a pay rise, better welfare, and adequate facilities. However, it is not unmindful of its Hippocratic oath.
Even when we are not paid our due entitlement, like one of the core reasons for this strike is the fact that most of our doctors who have been at the forefront of this struggle of COVID-19, up till now, the government has still nothing tangible in terms of insurance. Like in this hospital, we have over 30 doctors who have been infected. Yes, much as we are very committed to our Hippocratic oath, we are really committed to it, but it's unfortunate that we have to take this decision.
The association had earlier suspended a week-long strike after the government gave the assurance that its request is receiving full attention. Now they wonder if it was a strategy to buy more time, especially at a time when the COVID-19 pandemic ravages the country's health and wealth. TJ Swadiri, TVC News, Abuja.
Okay, thanks to Tijesu. That report went out earlier, as always. And we also have Dr. Jefferto Lubugi, who is chairman of NMA Lagos branch, Nigeria Medical Association Lagos branch. He also has a function. He's also chairman, I believe, of the Committee on COVID-19 for NMA in Lagos. Indeed, good morning, Dr. Lubugi.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Good morning, sir. Thank you very much for making time for us. Let's get your comments on that, because we were hearing from the doctor there that the members are actually, we know, and we're eternally grateful to our medical staff who are on the front line, that some of their colleagues have come down with the infection, and on top of all of this, there are outstanding payments here and there. Your comments, please.
Yes, thank you very much for having me once again. The ALD went on strike a few weeks ago, if you all remember, and they had a tete-a-tete with the government, and they called off that strike in good faith, hoping that the government would make do with their promises, grant their requests and their demands. But right now, they decided to call on the strike again, to resume the suspended strike, because most of the demands that they clamored for are yet to be granted by the government. I understand that they're asking for sort of group life insurance for all medical and health workers all over the country. Medical Residency Training Act is also one of the things they're asking for. They're also asking for a review, upward review of the hazard allowance paid to workers. We all know that health workers receive a 45,000 hazard allowance across all the institutions, health institutions in Nigeria, which is not sufficient to do anything. Should they have any hazard in doing their course of carrying out their duties. Also, they are asking for release of funds for the medical residency training for 2020 as amended. Then they're also asking for payment of all old arrears of the consequential adjustment of the minimum wage to their members all over the country. And then they want the implementation of this agreement in all the state tertiary institutions.
But one moment, Dr. Lubugi. One moment, Dr. Lubugi. Sorry, can you hear me? One moment, please. Government has responded, as well, haven't they, to some aspects of some of these issues?
Because in terms of response from the government, because I heard that they want to meet with the Association for Resident Doctors, in terms of engagement, are you saying that government?
It says that government says that 6 out of the 8 has
been addressed. 6 out of these issues.
6 out of the 8 demands have already been addressed.
As far as I know, at this moment we are speaking, some of those 6 demands that they said have been addressed are promises. Also, the issue of inducement. COVID-19 inducement allowance for health workers. It's also there. They promised to pay 6 months. The federal government this time around promised to pay 6 months to these health workers, to these doctors. And then they negotiated 3 months advance, and then they will negotiate. They will consider and negotiate another 3 months. But even the 3 months we're talking about have not been paid fully to them. How much more the remaining 3 months? Now this was at the federal level. At the state level, this is not even the case at all. They are not getting any inducement allowance at all. Now, what that means is that while other government staff were at home, health workers, doctors, nurses, and all that, were working. And then while they were working, they're not being paid a dime more than any other person, apart from those who actually were involved critically in COVID-19 isolation centers and all that who were paid COVID-19 allowance. So no health worker was paid any monument or.
But what of the hazard allowance? I know the hazard allowance was about 5,000 naira. So are they paying that, or the doctors just want an increment?
I'm not paying the hazard allowance. It was 5,000 naira.
Yes.
Lagos State government, for instance, paid 20,000 naira to their health workers twice. And since then, they have not paid a penny more than they have 5,000 naira.
One moment, please. Doctor, one moment. Let me bring in Mr. George calling in from Ikeja. Go ahead, Mr. George.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Good morning.
And greetings to Asuko. Uncle Yori, gone are the days that the medical profession was more of a humanitarian work than business. With due respect to the doctors, I listened to what he listed as their demands. I dare say that most of those things he listed are outside the normal entitlements to people that work for government. I remember there is a special scale for doctors, which they requested for and they got. It is not in line with the civil service scale. There are other allowances that are also approved for them. And they are now talking about a special insurance policy. There is no civil service or civil servant that enjoys all these things. I'm not saying they don't deserve them, but the doctors should also know that the medical sector is not the only sector that is deficient in this country. If all the resources of the government is put into payment of their dues, what about the other sectors that are also having shortfalls in their salary enhancements?
Okay, Mr. George, thank you very much for calling in. Let me get Dr. Lubugi's reaction to that. Dr. Lubugi.
Yeah, well, Mr. George has a liberty to his opinion. And yes, gone are those days when doctors' work was considered humanitarian. Well, the doctor's work is still considered humanitarian. But don't forget that the doctor also has a family to feed. He has people who depend on him. And then when he gets to the market and introduces himself as a doctor, or even if he does not introduce himself, once they know that he's a doctor or his wife is a doctor, they charge him more. And then the society places some form of responsibility on you and expect you to have money. I cannot tell you how many account numbers are on my phone requesting for one help or the other. And then people feel we are making money off COVID-19. So the same applies to my colleagues as well. I am not representing the national resident doctors here, but these are some of their demands, which also apply to myself as a medical doctor and other colleagues who are doctors as well. So they have a family, they have a responsibility, and they go to the same market that everybody goes to. So we should not undervalue their contributions at all.
Well, yeah. You know, that caller, Mr. George, did say that he wasn't saying that they didn't deserve what they are demanding, but he was pointing out the, as it were, conflict in the sense that it's not the only sector and that there are other sectors that also have their own hazards, and that if government were to try to address all of these, I imagine that's what do you think of that line of argument? Because we've heard it. Doctors and medical staff are on the front line of this very dangerous pandemic.
For a group of government workers who are exposed to a particular hazard, to a particular problem, a particular pandemic that is not germane to the society, asking for a life insurance in the case something happens to them. I don't think that is too much at all.
Okay,
I mean,
one moment, doctor. Let me bring in Ada calling in from Jos. Good morning, Ada.
Good morning.
Okay, go ahead, please.
It's Ada from Jos.
Okay, good morning.
It's really unfortunate that with the federal government to allow the doctors to keep on going on strike each time they're making some demands. They're not supposed to be making those demands in the first instance. That is, they're not supposed to, the federal government should not wait for them to do that. I don't subscribe to the idea that it's a humanitarian service. Humanitarian service that they are out there. All of us, they are quarantining ourselves, and they have to be there as first liners. And then they have to, they now make promises to them, and they don't keep the promises. What are we talking about? Let me tell you something. Before you know it now, they will start leaving this country again. Well, we don't even have enough doctors, you know? So I don't sometimes see this idea of somebody saying that, what about other sectors? They are putting in their all. Some of them have lost their lives, you know? So what are we talking about in this country? I think we are the problem, even the citizens. We should back them up. If I were them, or even the ones in the isolation center, they should all back down, down tools. People think you have to start equating the work they do with other sectors. I don't subscribe to that. Honestly speaking, it's really unfortunate.
All right then. Okay then. Thank you very much for calling in, Ada. Dr. Lubugi, an angry Ada calling out there, in support of the doctors that what they're doing is specialist, and specialist attention needs to be paid to them because at the end of the day, the most valuable commodity at all, which is human life, is what they're all about. And they themselves have said that some of their colleagues are falling. As a result of all of this. But having said all of that, Dr. Lubugi, doctors, they're talking now about an indefinite strike since they haven't gotten joy yet, even as government says that 6 out of the 8 demands have been met. And I know that you have commented on that. But doctors can't go on an indefinite strike, surely, in this whole situation. Really?
Yes,
Go ahead, please. Go ahead, please. Well, Chidi in Kafanchan has called in the meantime. We'll see if it was a bandwidth situation. Good morning, Chidi.
Good morning. How is today?
Very well, thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm very interested in listening to the discussion about Edo forthcoming elections.
Well, yeah, but we've turned the page. But Chidi, we've turned the page. Right now, we're on another very important subject, which is our doctors and the Resident Doctors Association of Nigeria and their strike, their indefinite strike that they say they feel they have to go on now, even as government says it has addressed most of those concerns. But our guest, Dr. Lubugi.
Okay, you don't want my contribution over that because
I wouldn't put it like that, but I wouldn't put it like that, sir. But please comment on the current topic, if you will.
Do I go ahead with the elections?
No, sir. No, sir. We'd like you to talk, if you want to, about this whole matter of the doctor striking.
Okay, well. Since I did not hear the beginning of it, the preface, so I wouldn't know what to say at this point in time.
Okay, thank you very much for calling. We really appreciate you. And thanks indeed for your honesty there, rather than, just try to say something because I had sort of prevailed on you. Just try to say something because I had sort of prevailed on you to consider the present subject. Thank you very much, Chidi. We always appreciate it when you call in. It's just that as you know, we've turned the page and everybody is now looking at a different subject matter. Dr. Lubugi, it sort of hung on us, but if you can hear me better now, I was wondering whether ethically doctors can go on strike indefinitely, especially in these unusual times of COVID-19 that we're in.
Well, I don't expect that the strike is indefinite because I expect that government will do the needful. I expect that the ALD National Officers Committee will sit down with the representatives of government to flesh out these issues. But if government had indeed, met 6 of the 8 demands, I can categorically tell you that the ALD National Officers Committee would not call for an indefinite strike. Well, obviously, they have not done it.
Okay.
So, some say, is it the right time? Is it the right thing to do? But when you are pushed to war, you are forced to fight back. And when you fight back, you show the person or whatever is pushed to war that, hey, hell, I can fight as well. So I think that is what is happening. Okay, the government needs to come around the table.
Okay. Onyeka in Calabar has called in. Good morning, Onyeka.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning. Go ahead, please.
Okay. Yeah, I want to comment on the doctor strike. You know, the last caller called and said they should consider other sectors. I don't think they should consider other sectors when it comes to human health. You know? So I want the government to intervene so that they will go back to work.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Short and simple. Thank you very much. We were wanting government to lean over backwards.
Exactly. You know, Doctor, I noticed that this strike is called by the resident doctors, Association of Resident Doctors. Is the NMA and the Nurses Association, that is nurses and midwife, are they part of it, or they are just standing aloof?
The resident doctors are a core member of NMA, so the NMA is with them, and the Nurses Association, if I may burst your bubble, are also planning a strike action. The Johet is also planning a strike action, and demands are not so far away from this demand that resident doctors have. Wow. Like I said, I am not a resident doctor. For most of their demands, I have to do with doctors, every doctor, and even other health workers are fit to wear. So other fractions, other affiliates of the Nigerian medical associations are also with them. Although the strike is not for all doctors, but the ALD is championing the cause of all doctors at this moment.
So in terms of the life insurance, is it just for the period of the COVID-19, or is it going to be after the COVID-19?
Let's even start with this period first. Can you imagine that as we speak, there's no life insurance for those who are fighting at the front line of COVID-19, not to talk of all the doctors that attend to people that may actually be COVID-19 patients at the various hospitals. So if we can't value the lives of our health workers, what are we talking about? And these are people who wake up and go to work, despite the fact that other people who ought to be working as well are staying at home. Like the last caller said, considering other sectors, doctors are not saying they are superior to anybody. I'm not saying they are superior to other sectors, but they are rendering a very crucial service. And they are just telling the government to consider the fact that we are rendering a crucial service and give us some crucial things that may actually enhance us to render that service.
Okay. Let me play devil's advocate here. I know there was a time you also complained about PPEs for frontline health workers. So did the government also, did the government provide the PPEs for you guys, at least for you to work?
Government eventually provided some PPEs, but you know, it's never enough anyway. So, but government actually did at all levels, at different levels, provide some PPEs for workers to use. But then again, lives had been lost, people had been maimed, because they didn't have enough PPEs to work, because they didn't have other things that they should, inducements that they should have to work.
Okay, Kenneth in Surulere, good morning. You're our last caller.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning.
Hello. I think the problem we have in this country is that we have a government that is insensitive.
A government that's what?
The government that is insensitive.
Oh, okay.
So if our government cares for the people, and this is hard time for people to ask questions, what is happening in our land? We have a government that have budgeted trillions and billions, they say they spend for this COVID-19. And up to today, we don't see anything worth of the amount they budgeted or they say they have spent. There's no new hospital built, no equipment to be, nothing, no tangible, no structure on ground. And the doctors who are still out there to take care of the life and property of the people, to make sure that we live, are not taken care of. So we think that we don't have government and they don't care what concerns for us. And even we thank God that this thing is, God has taken care of the poor masses in this country. If not, if what is happening in other nations like Italy and the Americans.
Thank you very much, Kenneth. I didn't want to rush you, but at least your point of view you got out there, that we have an insensitive, government working. There's either pro or con. Yes. Not everybody will see it the same way. Thank you very much for calling in. And let me use this time to say to Dr. Lubugi, Dr. Jefferto Lubugi, Chairman, Committee on COVID-19 for the NMA in Lagos. Thank you very much, as always, for coming on and helping us out with this topic. Thank you very much, Dr. Lubugi. Okay, so Azuko, that's about all the time we have. But to say that that's our program today. Please join us tomorrow for a fresh edition. Do everything you can to stay safe. Bye-bye for now.